Hey, how you guys, everybody doing out there? You talk to the Niner Nut coming at you live on this Wednesday evening, but a lot earlier by you on the West Coast if you're on the West Coast. Lucky if you're on the West Coast, because although it's rather mild here today, kind of warmer than it has been. But a belated Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah to everybody. Happy Kwanzaa as well with the upcoming new year. And as a Christmas gift, what did we get Saturday? We got an ass-whipping victory against the Washington Commanders. If you guys didn't have a chance to see that game, it was a phenomenal game from start to finish. It had the typical, blow by blow, kind of had that early on Commanders trying to stay relevant, and then the 49ers doing what they usually do in the second quarter and the start of the second half, which is pull away. It had Mr. Relevant doing damage again. Check out the highlights, the two passes he threw to George Kittle. It had Ray McLeod's Gallup, which I was so happy to see because I have been so happy about the acquisition of getting him when we got him this past season. And I look like John Stamos. Oh, man. Yo, listen, you're too nice, dude. Thank you so much. But John Stamos is a lot better looking than this mug. But thank you very much. I appreciate the compliment. Thank you guys for joining the live feed. So Ray showing he got speed, which we already know, showing he got Gallup, showing that he could be used any which way we want to use him. And I just hope that Shanny incorporates him more thus far for the rest of the season and the playoffs. So it had that. It had CMF doing damage like always. Please someone tell me how McCaffrey has been snubbed from Pro Bowl voting, because at the end of the season, he's going to have over 1,000 rushing yards, total yardage. He'll do what he always does, lots of them. It had Nick Bosa just raining terror all over Taylor Hickney and Carson Wentz. It had Dregreenlaw and Fred Warner just animalizing that defense. But I will say this, man, my hat off to the Washington Commanders, because Ron Rivera is a hell of a good head coach. Although, Riverboat, you should have never gone for it on fourth down. I don't know what you were thinking, dude. I was saying it. I'm sure like so many other fans are like, what the hell are you doing? Look where you at, son. You in Levi's. This ain't in Washington. I understand they call you Riverboat, but you done played blackjack one too many times. You don't win that hand with us, son. You don't win the hand. But again, Riverboat's a great head coach. He's done a phenomenal job in Washington. And for the most part, that's a pretty damn good team. I mean, for the most part this season, they have been competitive. I think a lot more with Tyler Hickney. We had his number on Saturday. I was so happy they brought in Carson Wentz, who they're now going back to as a starter. And the quarterback carousel just never seems to end in Washington, and it never seems to end for Carson Wentz. I mean, this guy goes everywhere and just bounces around, whether it was in Philadelphia, whether it was in Indianapolis, and now, over to Washington. I just don't understand. But, hey, that's not our problem, thank God. But it also had Jimmy Ward getting another pick, Talanoahufanga. This whole defense, man, has just... I was looking at the stats today for the season, and if you really want to see one of the more interesting aspects, go to interceptions. And we all know how lacking we were the last couple of seasons in interceptions, and go see how that has changed drastically. Hence be how drastically improved this defense has been, even since last year when they were a juggernaut, but has just improved overall as a unit, and they just keep getting better and better. And they're doing it without, Hassan Ridgeway. They're doing it, with Javon Kinlaw, who just came back last week. They're doing it with Armstead, who had just come back 2 weeks ago. So this is a defense that I just think it sort of reminds me of a starfish. You know how they say a starfish loses a limb and then regenerates? This defense has the ability to regenerate itself per game, and based on what situation they're going through, especially when it's in terms of injury. And again, I have to give my hat off to D'Amico Ryans. I have to give my hat off to the personnel and the players who are filling in. I mean, it's very rare in football that we get to see, or more sports for that matter, that we get to see a defense that just keeps coming together each and every game with different players, sometimes with injuries, just fills in so admirably. It's amazing to me. And another guy I think who's not getting the recognition that he deserves is Shavarius Ward, who was worth every penny, who I was extremely skeptical about. In fact, I thought they overpaid him, so shame on me, but he's been worth every penny. I'm hoping that they really come to their senses in the offseason and pay Jimmy Ward to stay because he's that valuable. But just finishing up with Washington, man, that's a talented team right there. You know, I didn't think they were ever going to come back, but I think that if they had them, and I like Taylor Hickney. I mean, I was rooting for him 2 years ago when they almost knocked Green Bay out of the playoffs. I just think if they had themselves a real legit quarterback, a real legit threat back there, they would be so much better. But I'll tell you, man, that's a team that holds tight. That defensive line with Allen and Payne, the nine of front five did a damn good job against them. Moved them all over the place. They didn't seem to be much of a threat. Chase Young now getting back to being healthy. Sweat, that's a good team right there, man. And there's no reason why. I mean, it's too late now, but I think that. I think that if the season was going to continue to go on, there's no reason why they couldn't take out the Giants and move ahead and take their place. I mean, I think Washington is now 7-7-1. The Giants are 8-6-1, I believe. It doesn't really matter because neither one of them are going to win the NFC East. It's obviously looking like it could be either the Cowgirls or the Philadelphia Eagles, who I'm not worried about. Still feel both very, to some extent, overrated. But look, that's a good Washington team, man. They've got some tools. Samuel, Logan Thomas. They seem to have a nice little running back combination going on with Robinson, Antonio Gibson, and the defense, like I mentioned before. They just need themselves a quarterback. But this was a game that you knew was going to be tough because Washington plays teams tough. But again, we've seen that this team has played so well against tough teams, especially after the Denver loss. We owned Tampa Bay. We knocked off Seattle again. We own the Rams. I mean, I don't know what else we have to do. I see rankings now putting us as number one ahead of Buffalo and ahead of Kansas City, but we're starting to get the recognition that we deserve, things that we all as Niner fans have already known for the entire season, how good and talented this team is, even in the times when they were losing. So again, man, Saturday's win was a great win for us. It was really important. Just continues the streak rolling. Purdy to Kittle has become the nice little connection. It's really good to see Purdy get in there and not only be doing as well as he is, but have a connection with this offense, starting to have a relationship. That takes time to build with certain players. Him and Kittle have a nice combination. Those passes, even if Kittle stole that pass, listen, a touchdown's a touchdown. Another guy who has just become the 49ers target has become Brandonaiyuk. Hopefully, if the season, with 2 more games to go, I'd like to see him break 1,000 yards. And he's been great. Ray, like I said before, Ray has just been that guy, I think, the linchpin that we needed, much like CMC. Jordan Mason, I was happy to see Davis Price play. Supposedly be getting Elijah Mitchell back soon. Supposedly be getting deebosamuel back soon. Supposedly be getting Big Jimmy G back soon with the walking boot. Although let's not get into who will be starting at that point. I don't want to go there right now. I don't want to think about it right now. I'm just happy to get all these guys back. We got Kinlaw back, so we're getting healthy at the right time. That's the most important thing. And the most important thing is another victory that just keeps us rolling right now as the 3 seed in the NFC with the Dallas Cowgirls and the Philadelphia Eagles ahead of us. I believe I see that if the playoffs were to happen today, we would play the New York Giants. And let's face it, we would pig fuck them to death without a doubt because they would have to come to Levi's and absolutely Mr. DeBoll and Mr. Jones would get absolutely reaped. Not raped, reaped. Okay? So that being said, let's go over Saturday's game just before we move on to the other interesting aspects, the other titles that we have to get to. But again, I was really happy from what I saw. I think another week with Shanny and Purdy just being on the same page. There were so many things that Purdy did. The interception didn't really bother me. Okay, I love the fact that he was scrambling getting out of trouble, not hurting us. I love the fact that his footwork is phenomenal. I love the fact that his fakes it's so underrated when you see a quarterback come in and not know really how to hand the ball off. I think it was Monday night watching the Chargers and the Colts. Nick Foles was the quarterback for the Colts. If you guys hadn't seen it, and there was a segment where he was supposed to hand the ball off to Deion Jackson, and I guess it had to do with him not really, being with the team that much because he hasn't been. He went the wrong way. Deion Jackson went the wrong way on the handoff and totally fucked up the play. And I bring that back to Purdy being crisp, bouncing, being flexible back there. Again, looking like he has looked. Looking like he's been a veteran, and that's the most amazing aspect I think of him. I can't. This kid is just playing at an amazing rate, and I think that imagine a complete season with Brock Purdy playing this way. It's really scary to think about, but I think it's something we really have to consider moving forward. But again, let's take one step at a time. So Saturday's win, we saw a lot of good things. GK continuing this late tear that he's been on. GK just showing why he's such a valuable tight end. Again, like we've spoken about, his hands, his route running, his ability to get open, his yak, his blocking, his overall persona, the intensity he plays the game with. He's such a misunderstood player. He's such an underrated player, I feel, and he's such a valuable player. McCaffrey, again, has just been that piece that we really needed because he just brings such a different aspect to the backfield in terms of running the ball, in terms of having really good vision, and in terms of catching the ball out of the backfield. He just reminds me of something that a lot of running backs don't have as much as he has. I mean, he's a dual threat, without a doubt. Juice, blocking, doing what he does all season long. The offensive line, I was a little critical of on Saturday, primarily Mike McGlinchey. He had those 2 penalties I didn't like. But other than that, I have no complaints the way the offensive line has played. On the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to yawn. I'm not even tired. I liked what I saw out of the defense. They were raining hell all over Taylor Hickney, making it really uncomfortable for him, forcing him into the interceptions, forcing him out of the pocket. And we did the same thing to Wentz when he came in. So I was really happy to see that. Again, Bosa to me is the MVP. It's not even funny how valuable he is. Just collapsing and sinking all sides of the offensive line, being held and strangled on so many different plays when and if we do get those calls, which we don't. And, another guy who doesn't always come up in the stats per sack, but Aminu, who has really played well this season, establishing himself as a starting defensive end. So, and of course, the combination of Warner and Greenlaw is just, the new Bowman and Willis. Both guys are just all over the damn field. It's so scary. Warner dropping back into coverage. Greenlaw just being a tackle machine. And that defensive backfield, which I spoke about already. So this is a really good win. A win against a very difficult opponent, believe it or not, if people don't feel that way. But Washington is no joke, okay? Or they were no joke, I should say. We're going to just bring up some stats a little bit. You guys know, if you've been watching the podcast, you know how I do with stats. I love to just break the stat line down a little bit per team and then individually. And again, I don't say this. I'm not a whole. I don't go by it like in terms of Moneyball, like the film, but stats have a place that is of importance in football, of course. But again, if you watch the game, sometimes stats don't fit, but and they're not everything, I should say. But in this case, it's a lot different. So let's break this down a little bit. We'll go to box score. And let's break down. Purdy was 15-22 for 234 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. He was sacked 3 times. He had a rating of 114.6. Again, another great outing for Brock Purdy, doing enough to get the win. 15-22 and 234 is just, again, don't think about the numbers. If you saw the game and you saw what he was able to do, it was enough and then some. Ray-Ray McCloud, 1 carry, 71 yards, more like a 71-yard gallop. So happy to see him get outside. McCaffrey had 46 yards on 15 carries. Davis-Price, 30 yards on 9 carries, and Purdy had that 6-yard gallop. George Kittle led the way, 6 catches, 120 yards, 2 TDs. Brandonaiyuk, 5 catches, 81 yards. Juwan Jennings, 2 catches, 21 yards. McCaffrey, 2 for 12. Purdy only threw to 4 different wide receivers. So that was another very interesting stat. And then let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Fred Warner led the way with 13 total tackles. Lenore, another guy who should be up for comeback player of the year, had 9 tackles. Hufanga had 8. Bosa and Greenlaw both with 7. George Odom was become a real special team standout, had 5. Jimmy Ward, 4. Tashawn Gibson Sr., a guy who does not get the recognition he deserves, he had 4 tackles. So once again, the defense getting after it, getting it done. Bosa had 2 sacks, as we spoke about. So that was, again, add to his total all season long. I personally, again, am advocating for him to be MVP. Jimmy Ward had the pick. Really nice play. He happened to be in a really good place. McLeod only returned 1 kick for 23 yards. He did return 2 punts for 12. Robbie Gould was 3 of 3 and 4 of 4 from extra point. Mitch Wishnowski, 2 punts, 80 yards, 1 inside the 20. And then looking at Washington's stats, the stats here tell a lot. Taylor Hickney was 13 of 18 for 166, 2 touchdowns and 1 pick, although stats don't show how uncomfortable he was in the pocket. Carson Wentz was 12 of 16 for 123 and 1 touchdown. A lot of garbage time there. Brian Robinson had 58 carries on 22 yards, only averaging 2.6 yards per carry. Once again, when we hold teams under 100 yards on running the ball, we win. Jonathan Williams, 3 carries, 13 yards. Antonio Gibson, 5 of 10. Terry McLaurin, 4 catches, 77 yards as a touchdown. Jahan Dotson, the rookie, looked pretty good. Had one of his better games all season. 6 catches, 76 yards and a touchdown. And Curtis Samuel, 5 catches, 52 yards and a touchdown, who was a big free agent acquisition signed away from Carolina last year. Logan Thomas, 6 catches, 35 yards, although you wouldn't have known it because he was only averaging 5.8 yards per catch. On defense, David Mayo, 9 tackles. Jamin Davis, 8. Jeremy Reeves, 8. Sacks came from Darren Payne, another good defensive tackle. Benjamin St. Juste and James Smith-Williams. Let's see. Is that it there? And Jamin Davis also had a sack. Derek Forrest had the interception. So we were able to if oval's a word, we were able to hold them in check. Looking at the team stats, breaking it down. Let's see what we got. I'm just going to slide this phone over here to better see some of the stats. Okay, so first downs, it was their 21 to our 14. Third down efficiency, we were 7 to 13. I'm sorry, they were 7 to 13 for 4 of 11. Total plays, they're 69 to our 51. They're 349 yards. Totally, we had 371. That says a lot. Yards per play, ours 7.3 to theirs 5.1. Again, there's that defensive stance again. Passing yards, they're 270 to 218. There are a lot of them were garbage. Let's see. Rushing the ball, our 153 to their 79. Like I said, that's been the stat of the season, really. And let's see. Yards per rush, our almost 6 to their 2.4. No one runs the ball against us. Penalties, we had 4 for 25. They had 6 for 51. 1 turnover to their 2. And they held the ball for 33 minutes and 35 seconds while we held the ball for 26 minutes and 25 seconds. So that being said, another great win from this team, as we've seen all season long, for the most part. Just going to move this back over. And now I just want to get to the other aspect of this episode, which is talking about the recent news that Derek Carr has been benched by the Las Vegas Raiders for Jarrett Stidham. If you don't know who Jarrett Stidham is, he was drafted by the New England Patriots, spent 2 years there, and was then taken by the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't understand this move if I'm the Raiders, although I'm loving it since I'm a Niner nut. But, if you're the Raiders, why now are you choosing to bench your quarterback and not before this? Because Carr has not had his best of season as compared to last year. nor have the Raiders. And you would expect them to have been much improved with the moves they made, with the head coaching change they made to Josh McDaniels, who still to me looks like a glorified offensive coordinator. Devontae Adams is going to get his stats no matter what. Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller have missed chunks of the season and missed some time. But that Raider team just really doesn't have themselves a very good defense. I mean, Clint Farrell's been a bust. Abrams got released. Chandler Jones really hasn't been, I guess, what they expected. So, once again, this is a very disappointing Raiders team. So, I am really happy about the benching because I think it's only better for us. I don't expect Jared Stidham to even, attempt to beat us. I think we're going to be all over him all day long and get the other victory. The one good thing about this Raiders team is that Josh Jacobs leads the league in rushing yards. He's having himself a phenomenal season. But this team is in disarray. They seem to be getting worse and worse as the year goes on, and just worse and worse each season. And I just don't understand it. So I think maybe they should part ways with Josh McDaniels after this year, if that's possible. But that being said, we're gonna walk into that stadium, and I think that it's a really good chance for us to beat the living shit out of them, 28-10 or something like that. Because I can't see Stidham really moving that offense too well. And for that note, I will say that I can see this defense giving Stidham a real pain in the ass, and then them having to go back to Carr, which I'd love to see. I don't really understand how you're going to bench your franchise quarterback now at this point in the season. I just think the point is totally moot. But then again, it's Josh McDaniels' decision and not mine. Moving on to the other issue is been Brock Purdy, and just, what a season he's had. And I want to just comment on Steve Young's recent comments. He was on this podcast. It's in my one of the pictures there on my feed on Instagram. And if you listen to it, it's about a 7-minute interview where he talks about how Purdy has the Force, to make a Star Wars reference. And what he means by that is the Force is something that you don't really know about, but you don't know how to explain it, but the player has it. And he makes a lot of good analogies. For instance, he brings up Ty Detmer. If you're not familiar with Ty Detmer was a BYU quarterback who was I think he won the Heisman Trophy and then never really went on to have as good of a NFL career as it was thought to, although he did serve as a backup for Steve Young one year. And Steve Young actually said that Detmer had the Force, mentally, but as his body, he was a very small quarterback. It was very hard for him to make it all work out because of that. But he would defer to Ty Detmer when coming to him for information. And he refers to Brock Purdy as a player who has the Force. So I think that's a real fair assessment. I think I understand what Steve Young is saying. I think you all understanding is that sometimes we see a player come out of college and we really can't understand what it is that he has, because maybe he doesn't have the throwing strength of Patrick Mahomes, like Steve Young mentioned. Maybe he doesn't have the rushing ability like a Jalen Hurts or a Justin Fields. But there's something that he has, this overall thing, and that's what Purdy possesses. And again, you're seeing it in things like footwork, handoffs, fakes, the way he's putting the money on the ball right on the money, not overthrowing or underthrowing wide receivers, making really smart decisions, not forcing the ball, running at times when he has to. That's just the feel. It's the footwork. It's the way he reads off receivers. It's his confidence inside the huddle and inside the pocket, his fluidity and movement. These are things that you just don't see from a lot of rookies. And if you really want to make a good example for someone who doesn't do that, go look at Zach Wilson and the New York Jets. And I don't mean to throw him under the bus, but he's been deactivated for this week in terms for Mike White. So that was a guy that Steve Young was heavily behind, but we haven't seen it from him. But the great Steve Young, I think, makes a lot of good points in that podcast, saying how Purdy has the Force and how he also says that a lot of the scouts don't know this, because the scout is there to kind of take in your height, take in your weight, measure your time, do all that stuff, and then write everything down, watch you throw, and go about his day or her day. And you don't really take into consideration the things that they may have. And we are seeing it out of Brock Purdy right now. So it's a diamond in the rough, really. It really is a diamond in the rough. And I just can't say enough about this kid. I think he's been the best story this season. He's been the best underdog story of all time, possibly being drafted at 262, Mr. Irrelevant, the last draft in the 222 NFL draft, and doing this well. I mean, it shoots all the experts opinions to all hell, and I don't think they have a foot to stand on anymore, nor do I ever really think they did for that matter, because they're never, who made them experts, and since when do they think they're right? Okay. Um, on that note, I will say that there's been a lot of interesting aspects to think about in the future now with three quarterbacks. Because again, if we get Jimmy G back any day, which we should on a walking boot, you got to wonder where he's going to fit into the offense. I mean, here's the question: do you get a healthy Jimmy G back who was having a phenomenal season? Do you plug him back in, or do you ride the Brock Purdy wave? According to ex-great Niners head coach Steve Mariucci, who was asked on TMZ Sports, he said that you ride with Brock Purdy. I think a lot of the other experts are going to also go down that route. I tend to go down that route. That is not to mitigate the fact that Garoppolo had himself a fantastic season, and I would love to keep all of them next year. And I'll just say this. If it was my choice, I would keep Garoppolo, keep Purdy, and I would trade Trey Lance away. A couple of days ago, I had put up woulda, shoulda, coulda, what if, and it was just a picture going back in time of 2 years ago in the 221 draft. Had we not have traded away everything to get Trey Lance, we could have possibly drafted Micah Parsons or somebody else. And now everything, hindsight is 2020. And in the good way that Purdy's been playing, we obviously didn't need Trey Lance, and we didn't need to give away two future first-round draft picks. So coming up this week is going to be the Las Vegas Raiders, a team that really doesn't show me much. They're playing in a very strange division because obviously the Chiefs are the cream of the crop in that division. The Chargers, for you guys out there on the West Coast who are Charger fans who may be or may not be watching the Chargers are their own worst enemy every season. They can never get it right, even when they're getting it right. The injuries kill them. They're without Joey Bosa. They rode a lot of the season without Keenan Allen. They got him back, thank God. They rode a lot of the season without Mike Williams. They've ridden parts of the season without Austin Eckler, but Joshua Kelly has filled in as a really good backup. But this team never seems to gel. I see they got into the playoffs Monday night, and there's no reason why they shouldn't make some noise because I think they're a high-powered offense with a damn good defense, especially if they get Bosa back. Khalil Mack, still playing really good, got to another Pro Bowl. This guy Tranquil is a really good linebacker. Derwin James had a hit the other night that I think rattled everybody. If you heard that, go back and watch that highlight. Look at his hit on Ashton Doolin. The sound, I mean, it reminded me of when I was in, it wasn't MetLife Stadium yet. It was just the Meadowlands where the Jets and Giants share. I was there when Dennis Byrd had his fatal accident with Scott Mercer when they collided, and they just missed Dave Kregel was the quarterback of the Chiefs that year. And the sound of the impact of Bird and Messeru hitting together, it echoed throughout the stadium. And when you saw Bird's lifeless body fall to the floor, the whole stadium went black. It was terrifying. That's what that hit reminded me of. Unfortunately, James did get knocked out. I don't think anyone had a concussion, but nonetheless, that's a pretty good charge of defense. So again, I just don't know why they just can't get it together. But I will say this in regarding to the Chargers, I really like the fact that Anthony Lynn has come over here and really helped us with our running game. And furthermore, I think that having a great running coach mind like Anthony Lynn only accentuates the talent for that whole Niner rushing backfield, and you can see it. Okay, so look, we're gonna get another victory this Sunday for sure. I want to blow out of the Raiders. I want something like 48-20. We need to have it. Now, we need the Cowgirls to lose. We need the Vikings to lose because we all know that both of them are soft as cotton candy and are not legit. And I want to see the Eagles lose too. I want to go into the playoffs as the 2 seed. I'd love to go in as the 1 seed if possible. I want a home field bye, and there's no one that's going to stop us, okay? The only team that can stop us is ourselves, but that's not going to happen. This team is dialed in heavily. They've got talent on all sides of the ball multiple times over. So, yes, Raiders quarterback is not playing. Derek Carr has been benched for Jarrett Stidham. I can't see Josh McDaniels getting his job back at the end of the season. I also want to pay tribute to someone or just give my hats off to him. I was critical of him at the beginning of the season. Brian Griese, 49ers quarterback coach, did a phenomenal job with Jimmy Garoppolo, did a phenomenal job with Brock Purdy. So that move worked out. I was critical of that. Who are the Vikings playing? Very good question. I will check for you right now. The Vikings are a team probably with one of the worst defenses in football by far. So I am really not worried about them at all. I've seen them play a couple times this year, and I just feel that Kirk Cousins really is not the guy you want to give the ball to in crunch time and say, hey, guy, go win me the game, because you never know what you're getting with him, even though he has played better to some extent. But at the same time, I just think that, um, you know, I don't see him as being the guy who's getting the salary that he deserves. That's just me. So it was a godsend the Jets passed him up when he was a free agent, because they were one of the teams he had his eyes on, and therefore, were contemplating whether or not to give him big money. But that never happened, which was a smart move by the Jets. I am looking for the Vikings game. They are playing the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay, which they will lose. Guarantee it. Okay, the one time we have to root for Aaron Rodgers, right? What do you think of Minnesota going very far with the poor defense? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Minnesota, we would blow Minnesota off the face of the earth. We would definitely score 40 points against them. Their defense can't stop anyone. And furthermore, if you remember a couple weeks ago against the Dallas Cowboys, the offense looked terrible. Kirk Cousins couldn't get rid of the ball fast enough in time. They shut down Jared Cook, Mattinson. They shut down Justin Jefferson, which is not an easy feat. So the Vikings are really not that much of a threat. They're an overhyped, overrated team who has a decently very good offense who can't stop shit. We've seen that all season long, especially in the last 2 weeks. Going forward with a poor defense, is it possible? I think it's more easier to go forward with a poor offense and a poor quarterback than it is with the good defense than it is the other way. And that brings to mind the Baltimore Ravens with Trent Dilfer a couple years ago, or the Chicago Bears of '85 with Jim McMahon, or it even reminds me of the Giants. Forgot what season it was when they had Kerry Collins, but they had themselves a pretty good defense. That's what it reminds me of, man, So I don't see them going anywhere. The NFC is going to really be interesting to watch the finish, because right now, like I said, we'd be facing the Giants if we finished in the 3 seed. We would piss all over the New York Giants. I mean, look, they've had a good season, but it's a little overachieved. They're not that good. Daniel Jones is not a great quarterback. Saquon's having a monster season. They really don't have themselves a number one wide receiver, although it is kind of strange to me that Evan Engram is having the season he's having in Jacksonville, and the Giants had released him last year. But again, losing Wan'Dale Robinson, Kadarius Toney never turning out, them getting rid of him. It's not a bad team. The Bulls done a great job, but they're not in our class. We would piss all over them. We'll do what we did to the Cowboys again last year when we faced them, because Dak's going to throw picks. Dak's going to get rattled. We're going to be all in his ass. Their defense doesn't scare me. Philadelphia, I think, for the most part, is a bit overrated too. I'm sorry to say. Jalen Hurts, I'm just not 100% sold just yet. And I think that they're a beatable team. That being said, I can't think of anybody else in the NFC that can give us a problem. The only team I'm looking at has been the Kansas City Chiefs for the last 3 weeks. I think they're probably one of the most well-coached, balanced teams in all of football. A lot of it having to do with the fact that they've been together for various years, but a lot of it having to do with the fact that they, like the 49ers, plug players into a system that works, and they're getting a lot from their defense, which is something we didn't see 3 years ago when we faced them in the playoffs. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the NFC goes down the last couple of weeks, and hopefully we get that 2 or 1 seed, which we're very capable of. So, what a week. I just bought myself a shitload of Brock Purdy rookie cards. I don't know if you guys are into that type of thing, but this kid is special. The word's out on something we knew from recent weeks ago. He's starting to get the highlight reels. You see him hanging out with Debo. And I think it's just great that we're getting healthy at the right time. I mean, you can't say enough good things about this team. What's your take on the Bills? Good question. I think the Bills are overrated at this point right now. I think they started off really good during the season. I think that everybody was waiting for them to try and really, for once, establish their running game, which they haven't been able to do. But I will say that kid Cook seems to be having a lot more luck than Singletary, because Singletary really hasn't come around as a legit running back, a guy who can get you 100 yards a game and get you 1,000 yards a season. That being said, Josh Allen is starting to throw interceptions. He's showing signs of, I think, wear and tear from the season. He's showing signs of burnout, if you ask me. And I think their defenses as well. They're getting nicked and knocked a little bit at this time of the season. You do. But I don't see them beating Kansas City. And I'll tell you this, I don't see Kansas City beating Cincinnati if that's the way it goes. I think Cincinnati is playing at that same high level they did last year going into the AFC Championship game where they knocked off Kansas City. There's no reason why they can't do that. There's no reason why this can't be a San Francisco Cincinnati Bengals Super Bowl. Joe Burrow's playing lights out with that great trio of wide receivers in Chase, Higgins. The other wide receiver's name just escaped me. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and somebody help me out there. I totally just blanked. Joe Mixon, of course, at running back. Sam J. Perini has played well. But again, I think the Bills are overrated, man, right now. Can they have a chance to get back to where it was? Yeah. But I think the word's out on them. I think you can force Allen into interceptions and turnovers, and you could shut down their running game and just have to focus on their passing, which a lot of teams do. And Stephon Diggs is going to get his catch. The thing is to make less of McKenzie and the other wide receivers, but I don't think they're a problem, to tell you the truth. So I'm looking at the Chiefs right now. That's I want a rematch of 3 years ago, and I think that's where it's really going to be. But that's just my opinion, man. But listen, let's wait and see. Gabe Davis, yeah, another good wide receiver who's really played well this year. It's a good trio, man. I mean, it's a very good trio. And they're also missing Jamison Crowder, which would give them 4 good wide receivers. But, again, I think that it's going to have to come down to Buffalo having to try and run the ball at certain times because you can't just expect Allen to do everything. I think at this time of the season, the wear and tear is there. And I think that, he's throwing picks. So he's beatable. Mahomes is beatable too, but I think Mahomes is just so well put together with the same coaching staff, and with a lot of the same players. Plus, they're plug and play, man. They're getting a lot out of guys who are signed on there, like Jeremy McKinnon, ex-49er, who's really played well, and that's who I'm looking at is Kansas City. I'm focusing on them, and if Cincinnati knocks them out, I'm focusing on Cincinnati, but right now, I want another victory against the Raiders. I want a blowout. Fuck the Raiders, man. We should wipe the floor with Jarrett Stidham on Saturday. It shouldn't even be. I can't see him, moving that team down the field on this first team defense. There's no way. But anyway, anybody with any comments, any likes, dislikes, or whatever, man, always feel free to hit me up on the inbox. I love doing the live feed. Love getting you guys Q&A. I really appreciate all the support. Definitely reach out and follow the channel if you can at Niner Nut Podcast. The Niner Nut is out.